mean?
Shall we speak to Conservative MP Sir Michael Fabricant? Hello, Michael. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Ah, there you are.
Hi,
James Cleverly seems rather relaxed about these migration figures. Are you?
No, but I must say, though, on the student front, let me tell you, before I became an MP, I used to sell radio and television stations abroad. And one of the things I always found, it was easier to sell in countries where the engineers had gone to British universities. So it actually does have payback. And I'm not so bothered personally. You know, the more foreign students who pay a fortune to go to British universities there are, it means you pay less.
Hang on,
Michael. If you're a British student.
That's all well and good, and I'm all for global Britain and having students come here, but of course they do require housing, and they may use public services, and they may wish to use transport and everything else, and unfortunately, your government hasn't built the infrastructure needed.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's a fair point. But, you know, students leave, as you've already been saying, as well as come in. But let's focus on those who shouldn't be here, the illegal immigrants. They are the problem. Now, the government's been looking at all sorts of solutions. They looked at the Labour Party's solution, which was interesting, to do a deal with Europe. But Europe, of course, is also having a real problem now with increased immigration. Hence, and I hope you're going to be impressed with the correct pronunciation, the election of Geert Wilders in Holland. Dutch radio are clients of mine, so I'm very good on the old Dutch pronunciation. Because you get a lot of people getting elected now in Germany and France and Holland, as we've seen, who are becoming very Eurosceptic. I mean, God, even Michel Barnier, the one we were negotiating against when we were trying to leave the EU, is now saying there has to be now a new European Union which redefines things. But anyway, back to your point, which was all about immigration. So we looked at the Labour Party's suggestion, but with increased immigration into continental Europe, it would mean even more immigration into the UK and people that we would have no control over at all. So the Labour Party idea is rejected. The government has looked at other possible locations because following the Supreme Court ruling, which said, yes, in principle, you can process applications abroad, but they didn't like the idea of doing it in Rwanda. I know the government's looked at the Falklands and other locations. They were slightly worried, I'm told, when they looked at certain crown colonies like Bermuda and thought, hang on, that might be too attractive and people might even more will want to come in the hope they'll be sent.
Michael, I'd be getting in a small boat if it meant a free trip to Bermuda.
Me too. I'll go with you, Tom. So anyway, they've been looking at that, and now they're going to try and give them government, they're doing government legislation to see whether we can still send people to Rwanda, which will deter people from coming here. Of course, there has been a little improvement. We've done a deal with Albania. So 90% of Albanians have now been sent back to Albania. Italy's done a deal with Albania, which we don't yet have, which is where they process everybody in Albania, a bit like we want to process them in Rwanda. Maybe the Albanians will agree to that. Who knows?
It's interesting, though, Michael, because these are two separate issues. The illegal migration that I think everyone agrees we need to get down. Ideally, you'd, of course, have zero illegal migration. But then when it comes to...
Some people don't believe that there's even such a thing.
That's true, that's true. But when it comes to legal migration, after leaving the European Union, that is something the government does have complete control over. What do you think needs to change with regard to how many visas we issue, whether or not we count students in the overall number, or what policy changes do we need to see here?
I think that's a very fair point. Do you count students and their dependents? Because, yeah, Emily's right, they use up resources and whatever, but we do have student accommodation as well, and universities are building for that, but they come, and then most of them go again. Some stay illegally, but they come and they go, and they're legal. I really think we should be looking at the illegal.
Yeah, but then more come and more go, so it's constant, so it does add to the population.
Emily, it's great for our universities. I mean, I talk at great length with Adam Tickell and others. He's the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Birmingham. I don't think our great universities would be as great if we didn't get the overseas students. I mean, there is a limit that we set anyway. But I actually think, no, when it comes to students coming to the UK, I think it's a good thing for our universities and the UK. But it's the illegal ones, the boat
Yeah,
that we...
Michael, I think the issue for a lot of people is the dependence, which I believe the government is actually cracking down on, although I'm not sure when it will kick in, because a lot of people are very surprised when they hear that,
The students
that you're
come
allowed to
along
bring
with
a
wider
dependent with
families
you.
and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But you know what the problem is? The problem is that 4 out of the top 10 universities in the world are British. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, we also have some less top ones, but we do have fantastic universities. That is very true. Thank you very much for your time, Michael Fabricant, Sir Michael Fabricant, Conservative MP.